The mob called Muhammad Ali Black Boy and gave him 72 hours to kneel or die. So the 21-year-old champion made a deal with Bumpy Johnson, Harlem's most dangerous gangster, fresh from 11 years in Alcatraz. Together, they went to war over 3 tapes that could destroy everything. What did Bumpy do that made the entire mafia fear him and turned a black boy into a king to understand how it all led here? We go back to where it truly began. The package arrived at 3 in the afternoon. Cassius Clay was alone in his hotel room at the Teresa, hands wrapped, sweat still dripping from his morning workout. The knock came soft, polite, the kind of knock that doesn't belong in Harlem. He opened the door. No one there. Just a black box sitting in the hallway, wrapped in white ribbon like a birthday present. His name written across the top in elegant script. Clay brought it inside, closed the door, stared at it for a long moment before cutting the ribbon. Inside, a photograph, professional quality, black and white, a funeral, flowers everywhere, a closed casket, and standing around that casket, his mother, his father, his brother, all dressed in black, all weeping. The photograph was dated 3 days from now. Clay's hands started shaking. He reached deeper into the box, found a cassette tape. No label, just blank plastic and magnetic ribbon. He walked to the small recorder on his nightstand, inserted the tape, pressed play, static, then a voice, smooth, confident, the kind of voice that smiled while it cut your throat. "Good afternoon, Mr. Clay. My name is Anthony Salerno, though you can call me Tony. Tony Pictures. I'm recording this message because I want you to understand something very important. The photograph you're holding, that's not a threat. It's a schedule. Your funeral is planned for 72 hours from now. Saturday morning. St. Patrick's Cathedral has already been reserved. The flowers have been ordered. White lilies, your mother's favorite. The obituary has been written. Cassius Clay, Olympic champion, promising young fighter, dead at 21. Cause of death. Well, that part depends on you, doesn't it? See, there are 2 ways this funeral happens. Option 1. Your career dies. We release certain recordings, certain conversations you've had with certain people about certain beliefs. Your sponsors disappear overnight. Boxing commissions find reasons to deny you licenses. You never fight for a title. You fade into nothing. You become just another loud-mouthed kid who couldn't back it up. That's option 1. Your career dies, and you get to keep breathing. Option 2. The voice paused. Clay could hear the smile in it. Option 2 is messier. But you're a smart young man. I think you understand. You have 72 hours to make a choice. Someone will be in touch with details. Sleep well, Mr. Clay. The tape went silent. Clay sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the photograph of his own funeral. And something inside him cracked open. A memory he'd buried deep. Louisville, Kentucky, 1952. Cassius Clay was 8 years old. He'd just won his first amateur fight at the Columbia Gym. His daddy had taken him to Kaufman's department store downtown to celebrate. They were going to buy him new shoes. The good kind, the kind white kids wore. They walked through the front entrance. Cassius was bouncing on his toes, still pumped up from the fight, shadow boxing with his own reflection in the store windows. A white man in a suit stopped them. Store manager, face like a clenched fist. "Where do you think you're going, boy?" Cassius's father straightened up. "We're here to buy shoes for my son. Colored entrance is in the back. We came through the front." The manager stepped closer. His voice dropped to something ugly, something sharp. "Listen here, boy. I don't care if you came through the chimney. You and that little black boy used the back door. or you don't use any door at all. Black boy. The words hung in the air like smoke. Cassius looked up at his father, saw something die in the old man's eyes, saw his shoulders slump, saw him take his son's hand and turn toward the back of the building. That night, sitting on the porch of their small house, his father said something Cassius would never forget. Son, that word. Boy, when a white man calls you that, he ain't talking about your age. He's talking about your place. He's saying you're less than human. He's saying you're property. You're something to be owned and controlled and put in your place whenever you step out of line. What do we do about it? Daddy. His father looked at him for a long time. You don't ever accept it. You hear me, that word is a chain, an invisible chain. And once you let them put it on you, you'll wear it your whole life. Cassius had nodded, but he hadn't understood. Not really. Not until now. The knock came at 8 o'clock that evening. Harder this time. More insistent. Clay opened the door. 3 men stood in the hallway. The one in front was medium height, forgettable face, expensive suit. The kind of man who could walk through a room without being noticed until suddenly you couldn't stop noticing him. Mr. Clay, I'm Tony Pictures. We should talk. I got nothing to say to you. That's unfortunate, because I have quite a bit to say to you. Tony. Pictures pushed past him into the room. The other 2 men followed. One of them closed the door. The other one stood in front of it, arms crossed. Clay felt his hands ball into fists. Get out of my room. In a moment. Tony Pictures sat down on the couch, crossed his legs, lit a cigarette. First, let's discuss your future. You're fighting Doug Jones in 2 days. Big fight. Biggest of your career. Win. And you're 1 step closer to a title shot. Lose. And well, you're just another kid with a big mouth. He exhaled smoke. My associates have taken an interest in your career. They'd like to help you. Make sure you get the opportunities you deserve. But they need to know you're someone they can work with. Someone who understands how things work. I understand fine. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, you seem confused. You seem to think you can just do whatever you want. Fight whoever you want. Say whatever you want. Believe whatever you want. Tony Pictures leaned forward. Listen here. Black boy, you fight for us, or you're nothing. You're a puppet, and we're offering to buy your strings. That's a good deal. That's the only deal you're going to get. Black boy. There it was. The chain. Clay moved before he could think. 1 step. His hand came up fast. The slap caught Tony Pictures across the face, snapping his head to the side. For a moment, the room was silent. Then the 2 men by the door moved. Fast. Professional. They grabbed Clay's arms, twisted them behind his back, drove him to his knees. Tony Pictures stood up slowly, touched his face where the handprint was already forming. Then he smiled. See, you're still just a black boy who doesn't know his place. He crouched down, looked Clay in the eyes. We'll be in touch with details. You've got 48 hours now. Tick-tock. They left him there, kneeling on the floor of his own hotel room, tasting blood from where he'd bitten his tongue. Clay stayed there for a long time after they were gone. Then he picked up the phone and made a call he'd been told to make only in emergencies. Brother Malcolm, he said, I need help. Harlem, 1933. 30 years before Cassius Clay received a box with his own funeral inside. Bumpy Johnson was 28 years old. Already a legend. Already dangerous. The man who'd gone toe-to-toe with Dutch Schultz and lived. The man who'd turned the numbers racket into an empire. He was sitting in his office above Small's Paradise when they brought the traitor in. A man named Eddie Cross. One of Bumpy's lieutenants. Eddie had been skimming money, selling information to the Italians, playing both sides. Eddie was on his knees now, hands tied, blood running from his nose. "Mr. Johnson, please, I can explain." Bumpy didn't respond. He was cleaning his fingernails with a knife, not looking at Eddie, not looking at anyone. "It was just a little money. Nothing important. I was going to pay it back." "How much did the Italians pay you for my territory maps?" Eddie went pale. "I never—" "How much?" $500. Bumpy finally looked up. His eyes were calm, flat, like looking into a well that had no bottom. "You sold out your own people for $500. You sold out Harlem for $500. He stood up, walked over to Eddie, crouched down so they were face to face. "I could kill you. Should kill you. But I'm not going to. You know why?" Eddie shook his head. "Because I want you to live. I want you to walk around Harlem with everyone knowing what you did. I want you to see what happens to men who betray their own. I want you to spend every day looking over your shoulder, wondering when someone's going to decide you're not worth the air you breathe anymore." Bumpy stood up. "Cut him loose. Get him out of my sight." They dragged Eddie out. He was crying, begging. Bumpy turned back to his desk and poured himself a drink. His lieutenant, Theodore, spoke up. "Boss, you sure about letting him walk?" "He won't walk far." Theodore was right. Eddie Cross was found in an alley 3 days later, not killed, just beaten so badly he'd never walk straight again, never talk straight again. A living reminder of what betrayal cost. That was Bumpy Johnson, not cruel for cruelty's sake. Strategic, always thinking 3 moves ahead, always making sure the message was clear. Alcatraz, 1958, 5 years into an 11-year sentence. Bumpy was sitting in the prison yard when the new kid made his move. Young, stupid, trying to make a name for himself by killing the legendary Bumpy Johnson. The kid came up behind him with a sharpened spoon. Bumpy didn't turn around, didn't move, just kept staring at the San Francisco Bay in the distance. "You going to do it, or you going to stand there breathing on my neck all day?" The kid froze. How did I know? Because you've been watching me for 3 days. Because you told 6 different people what you were planning. Because you're young and stupid, and you think violence is the same thing as power." Bumpy turned around slowly, looked at the kid. "Put that down before you hurt yourself. I'm going to kill you." "No, you're not. You know why? Because if you kill me, you become the man who killed Bumpy Johnson. And that means every other young stupid kid in here is going to try to kill you. That's how it works. You become the target. Is that what you want?" The kid hesitated. "Or," Bumpy continued, "you could put that ridiculous spoon away, sit down, and learn something. I've been in this game for 30 years. I've survived things that would have killed most men twice. You want power. Real power I can teach you. But first, you have to stop being stupid." The kid sat down. The sharpened spoon disappeared into his pocket. Bumpy Johnson had just turned an assassination attempt into a recruiting opportunity. That was who he was. That was what he did. January 1963. Bumpy walked out of Alcatraz after 11 years. No press, no fanfare. Just a man in a cheap suit with a single bag, walking through the iron gates into cold California sunshine. A car was waiting. Illinois Gordon, his oldest friend, behind the wheel. "Welcome back, boss." Bumpy got in. Didn't speak for a long time. Just watched the landscape roll past as they drove to the airport. Finally. "How bad is it?" Illinois didn't sugarcoat it. "Bad. The Italians moved in hard while you were gone. Gigante runs most of your old territory now. Heroin everywhere. Numbers racket is his. Protection is his. He owns half the politicians and most of the police. And our people, scattered, waiting. They remember you. Boss, they're loyal, but they're not organized. They're not mobilized. They're just waiting. Bumpy nodded slowly. Then let's give them something to mobilize for. He returned to Harlem on a Tuesday. No announcements, no declarations. Just walked into Small's paradise like he'd never left. The place went silent. Every head turned. Every conversation stopped. Bumpy walked to the bar, ordered a cognac. The bartender poured with shaking hands. Then, one by one, people approached, not to ask for anything, not to pledge allegiance, just to nod, to acknowledge, to let him know they remembered. By midnight, the word was spreading through Harlem like wildfire. Bumpy's back. The king has returned. But Bumpy knew better. He wasn't king of anything anymore. He was a 58-year-old man with no territory, no income, and a lot of enemies. The Italians thought he was finished. The police thought he was irrelevant. The newspapers didn't even mention his release. They were all wrong, because Bumpy Johnson hadn't spent 11 years in Alcatraz lifting weights and counting days. He'd been doing something far more valuable. He'd been maintaining relationships. He'd been staying connected. He'd been making sure that when he got out, he'd have something more important than territory or money. He'd have a network. And 7 weeks later, when Malcolm X called and said a young fighter named Cassius Clay needed help, Bumpy Johnson was ready. The office above Small's paradise smelled like old leather and cigars, like history, like power that didn't need to announce itself. Cassius Clay sat in a chair across from Bumpy Johnson, trying very hard not to look nervous. Bumpy studied him, didn't speak for a long time, just watched. Finally, "Malcolm says you've got trouble." "Yes, sir." "Tell me." Clay told him everything. The tape, the threats, the funeral photograph, the word black boy. When he finished, Bumpy was still watching him with those flat, calculating eyes. "They called you black boy." "Yes, sir." "And what did you do?" "I slapped him. Then his men beat me down." "Why'd you slap him?" Clay hesitated. "Because my daddy told me never to accept that word. He said it was a chain, an invisible chain." "Your daddy was right." Bumpy leaned back in his chair. "What do you want from me?" "I want to fight Doug Jones. I want to win. I want them to not be able to destroy my career." "That's what you want. What I'm asking is, what do you want me to do about it?" I don't know. Malcolm said you could help." Bumpy shook his head. "I don't help people who don't know what they want. I don't help people who come to me with problems but no solutions. I don't help people who are weak." Clay felt something hot rise in his chest. "I'm not weak. You're sitting in my office begging for help. That's weakness." "No." Clay stood up. "Coming here took more courage than anything I've ever done. You think it's easy to ask for help. You think it's easy to admit you can't handle something alone. That's not weakness. That's strength." Bumpy's expression didn't change. "Then prove it." "What?" "Prove you're strong enough for me to risk my neck for—" Bumpy stood up, walked to the door, opened it. "There's a man at the bar downstairs, big guy, Italian, works for Gigante. He's been watching this building for 3 days. Go down there, look him in the eye, then come back up here and tell me what you saw." Clay swallowed hard, nodded, walked out. The bar was crowded, music playing, conversations flowing. Clay spotted him immediately. Big, muscular, expensive suit, sitting at the far end of the bar, watching the door to the back stairs. Clay walked straight toward him. Every step felt like walking through water. The Italian saw him coming. Smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. Clay stopped in front of him. "You got a problem." The Italian laughed, loud, theatrical. The kind of laugh that made other people look over. Do I got a problem? That's cute. That's real cute. He stood up, towered over Clay. Only problem I got is black boys who don't know when to quit. Black boys who think they're something special. Black boys who need to learn their place. The bar went quiet. Clay felt his hands shaking, not from fear, from rage. From every time he'd heard that word, every time he'd swallowed it, every time he'd walked away. Not this time. I'm Cassius Clay, Olympic gold medalist, undefeated professional fighter, future heavyweight champion of the world. He stepped closer, right into the Italian's space. I'm not a black boy. I'm not your boy. I'm not anyone's boy. And if you call me that again, I'm going to knock your teeth so far down your throat you'll be chewing with your stomach. The Italian's smile disappeared. His hand moved toward his jacket. Clay didn't flinch, didn't blink, just stood there. Ready. The Italian's hand stopped. Something in Clay's eyes made him hesitate, made him reconsider, made him realize this kid wasn't playing. You're making a mistake, the Italian said quietly. No, you are. The Italian's punch came fast, hard, caught Clay on the jaw. Clay staggered back, tasted blood. The room exploded into motion, people yelling, running. Two more Italians emerged from the crowd, 3-on-1 now. Clay blocked the next punch, countered with a combination. Left jab, right cross. The Italian went down. The other two grabbed him. One hit him in the ribs. The other tried to get behind him. Clay fought. Not like a boxer, like a man with nothing left to lose. He took hits, gave them back harder. Someone threw a bottle, someone else a chair. The whole bar turned into chaos. Then suddenly, it stopped. Illinois Gordon was standing there with a shotgun, not pointing it at anyone, just holding it. His presence alone was enough. Gentlemen, this establishment is now closed. Time to leave. The Italians backed off, slowly, carefully. The big one wiped blood from his mouth, pointed at Clay. You're dead, black boy. You hear me? Dead. Clay wiped his own blood away, smiled. I'm Clay. I don't die. They left. The bar emptied. Illinois looked at Clay. Bumpy wants to see you. Clay walked back upstairs. His ribs hurt. His jaw hurt. Everything hurt. But he was still standing. Bumpy was pouring 2 glasses of cognac. He handed one to Clay. Sit down before you fall down. Clay sat. Drank. The alcohol burned. You did good, kid. I got beat up. No, you stood up. There's a difference. Bumpy sat across from him. You want to know what I saw downstairs? I saw a man who refuses to kneel. I saw a man who'd rather die than accept a chain. I saw myself 30 years ago. He raised his glass. All right, kid. Now we talk. The next 2 hours changed everything. Bumpy didn't just listen. He interrogated, pulled out every detail. Names, dates, locations, the exact wording of the threats, the contents of the tapes, everything. When Clay finished, Bumpy sat back and closed his eyes, thinking, calculating. It's not just one tape, he said finally. What? The Italians are smart. They wouldn't put all their leverage in one basket. There are multiple tapes, multiple copies, probably 3 at minimum. 1 for insurance, 1 for leverage, 1 for sale if things go bad. Bumpy opened his eyes. Tell me everything on those tapes. Every conversation, every person, every location. Clay told him. The conversation with Malcolm X about Islam, but also about a private conversation he'd had with a woman he was seeing. and something Tony Pictures had mentioned about a tape of Clay supposedly talking about using performance enhancers. That one was fake. Had to be. But it sounded real. Bumpy nodded slowly. 3 tapes. 3 different kinds of leverage. Religious, personal, professional. They're not just trying to control you. They're trying to destroy every part of your life. Make you so dependent on them that you can never break free. Why? Because that's how they operate. That's how they've always operated. They don't want partners. They want slaves. Bumpy stood up, walked to the window, looked out at Harlem. They want to turn you into what they think you already are. A black boy. Property. Something they own and control. What do we do? Bumpy was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was different. Harder. Colder. Like winter. We don't just get those tapes. We burn their entire operation to the ground. Bumpy poured another drink. This time, he didn't sit down. He paced, thinking out loud. Vincent Gigante, the Genovese family. They're not just gangsters. They're an empire. Been building it for decades. They've got politicians, police, judges, everyone in their pocket. They're untouchable. He turned to Clay. Except they're not, because they've gotten comfortable, gotten arrogant. They think they can walk into Harlem and do whatever they want because I've been gone for 11 years. They think the king is dead. Are you the king? Bumpy smiled. Not a warm smile. Something else. Something dangerous. I was. Once. Then I went to prison. Lost everything. My territory. My income. My wife. His voice caught on that last word. Gigante made sure of that. Made sure I lost everything while I was locked up. Made sure I came back to nothing. What happened to your wife? She was killed. In a robbery. At least that's what the police said. But it wasn't a robbery. It was a message. A message to everyone in Harlem that Bumpy Johnson was finished. That the old king was dead and the new king was Italian. Clay felt something cold settle in his stomach. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be ready. Bumpy turned to face him. Because this isn't just about saving your career anymore. This is about something bigger. This is about sending a message back. A message that says we're not black boys. We're not property. We're not going to kneel anymore. What was her name? Your wife. Francine. Her last words to me were in a letter. She knew she was going to die. Knew they were coming for her. She wrote, "Don't let any more of our children have to kneel. Don't let any more black boys become boys forever." Bumpy's hands were shaking. Just slightly. I've spent 15 years in prison thinking about those words. 15 years planning. Waiting. Now you walk into my office with the same problem I had. The same chain they tried to put on me. And I'm not going to let it happen again. Clay looked at this man. This dangerous, brilliant, broken man who'd lost everything and was still fighting. What do they think we are? Clay asked quietly. They think we're black boys. Property. Things to be owned and controlled and put in our place. What are we really? Bumpy looked at him for a long moment, then smiled. A real smile this time. We're about to show them. He walked to his desk, pulled out a map of New York, spread it across the surface, then pulled out a gun. Old, well-maintained. Loaded. This gun has been waiting 15 years, waiting for the right moment, the right target, the right message. He set it on the map. Tonight, we start planning. Tomorrow, we start moving. By the end of the week, either we're free or we're dead. But either way, we're not going to be black boys anymore. Clay stared at the gun. At the map, at this man who'd just offered to risk everything for someone he barely knew. "Why are you doing this for me?" "I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for her. For Francine. For every black man who's ever been called boy and had to swallow it. For every black woman who's ever had to watch her man be broken down and destroyed." Bumpy picked up the gun, checked the chamber. "And I'm doing it because 30 years ago, nobody helped me. Nobody stood up. Nobody said enough. So I'm saying it now. Enough." The phone on his desk rang. Bumpy answered it, listened. His expression didn't change, but something in his eyes went cold. He hung up, looked at Clay. "That was Gigante. He knows you're here. He knows we're talking. And he just sent a message." "What message?" "He said," and I quote Johnson, "I know what you're doing. Boy, you're still that same black boy from 1948. The one who thought he could fight back. The one who lost his wife. The one who lost everything. Want to lose more?" The room was silent. Then Bumpy smiled. That cold, dangerous smile. "Tell him I said he's still the same coward from 1948. The one who only fights when he outnumbers people. The one who hides behind badges and money. Tell him tonight. The bill comes due." Clay watched as Bumpy hung up the phone, turned to him. "You still want to fight Doug Jones in 2 days?" "Yes." "Good, because you're going to fight him. You're going to win. And while you're in that ring, I'm going to be burning Vincent Gigante's empire to the ground." How Bumpy pulled out another map. This one marked with 7 red circles, 7 locations across Manhattan and the Bronx. Gigante has 7 strongholds, 7 places where he keeps money, weapons, records, leverage. We're going to hit all 7. Same night. Same time. Make him think he's being attacked by the other families. Create chaos. And in that chaos, we're going to steal the one thing he can't afford to lose. The tapes. The tapes. The safe they're in. Everything. Bumpy looked at Clay. "But here's the thing. This isn't going to be clean. This isn't going to be easy. People might die. I might die. You understand that?" "I understand. And you're still in." Clay thought about his father, about the word boy, about the chain, about every time he'd had to swallow his pride and walk away. "I'm in." Bumpy extended his hand. Clay shook it. "Then let's get to work. We've got 72 hours, 7 locations, 3 tapes, 2 men with everything to lose and nothing to fear." He pulled Clay close. "And one promise. After this, nobody calls us black boys ever again. Or they pay with everything they have." 60 hours before the fight. Bumpy Johnson's office looked like a war room. Not 8 men. 40. They filled every corner of the space above Small's paradise. Some stood. Some sat on the floor. All of them watched Bumpy with the intensity of soldiers waiting for orders. These weren't random street thugs. These were the men who'd waited 11 years. The barbers who heard everything. The doormen who saw everything. The numbers runners who knew every corner. The Korean War veterans who'd learned to kill efficiently. The boxers who'd learned to fight dirty. The drivers who could navigate Harlem blindfolded. Bumpy stood at the front. A map of New York spread across the wall behind him. 7 red circles. 7 targets. Illinois Gordon stood to his right. Marcus Webb, the scarred veteran, to his left. Theodore Green, his oldest friend, sat in the corner, arms crossed, face unreadable. The room was silent, waiting. Bumpy spoke. His voice was quiet, but it carried. It always carried. "How many years they been calling us black boys?" No one answered. They all knew it wasn't really a question. 300 years, 300 years they've been telling us to know our place, to bow our heads, to accept the chain. 300 years they've been using that word like a weapon, like a brand, like proof that we're less than human. He paused. Let the words sink in. Well, tonight, we show them what black men really are. The room erupted, not with cheers, with something deeper, something older, a sound like thunder rolling in from a distant storm. Bumpy raised his hand. Silence fell immediately. Here's how this works. 7 teams, 7 targets. Same time, same night. We hit them so hard and so fast they won't know what's happening until it's over. He pointed to the map. Team 1 Pleasant Avenue. That's where the tapes are. That's our primary objective. Marcus, you lead that team. 6 men. Get in. Get the safe. Get out. Marcus nodded. Team 2 Bronx Warehouse. That's where they keep the money from the heroin trade. Raymond, you take that. 5 men. Make noise. Make them think that's the real target. Raymond Carter, the former boxer, stood up. How much noise? Enough that every cop in the Bronx hears about it. Consider it done. Bumpy continued. Teams 3 through 7, you're hitting their social clubs, their betting parlors, their storage facilities. You're not there to steal. You're there to create chaos, break things, start fires, make them think the entire underworld is at war with them. He walked along the map, pointing to each location. But here's the catch. Each team has a sacrifice. One person who's going to get caught. On purpose. You'll have a story ready. You'll say you're working for the Colombo family, or the Lucchese family, or whoever makes the most sense. You're going to make Gigante think this is a mob war, not Bumpy Johnson coming for revenge. A young man in the back raised his hand. Boss, what if they torture the sacrifice, make them talk? Then you tell them what we want them to hear. You say you were hired by someone else. You don't know who. You just know there's a contract on Gigante's operations. You make them paranoid. Make them think everyone's against them. Bumpy looked at each man. The sacrifices know what they're signing up for. They'll do time. Maybe 6 months. Maybe a year. But when they get out, they'll be taken care of. Their families will be taken care of. You have my word. 4 men stood up, volunteered without hesitation. Bumpy nodded at them, respect in his eyes. One more thing. We go in at 8:30 tomorrow night. That's when Cassius Clay fights Doug Jones at Madison Square Garden. Every Italian with money will be at that fight or watching it somewhere. Every cop will be managing the crowds. Every eye will be on that ring. He smiled. Which means no one's watching their own backyard. Illinois spoke up. What about Gigante himself? He'll be protected. Let me worry about Gigante. You just worry about your assignments. Bumpy pulled out a box. Inside, small radios. Communication is key. Every team leader gets one. We stay connected. We adapt. And if something goes wrong, we don't panic. We improvise. He handed out the radios. Then he looked at Clay, who'd been standing silently in the corner. Mr. Clay, you have the most important job of all. You're going to get in that ring tomorrow night and you're going to fight like your life depends on it, because it does. You're going to show 60,000 people what a black man looks like when he refuses to kneel. You understand? Yes, sir. Good. Because while you're fighting, we're fighting. And when it's over, either we're all free or we're all dead. But either way, we're not going to be old black boys anymore. The room erupted again. This time, Bumpy let it. Let them feel it. Let them carry that energy into tomorrow night. When the meeting ended, men filed out in small groups, staggered, careful. No one could know they'd all been together. No one could know what was coming. Clay stayed behind. So did Illinois and Marcus. "You think this will work?" Clay asked. Bumpy lit a cigar. "It has to." That wasn't an answer, but it was the only one Clay was going to get. 48 hours before the fight, everything changed. Bumpy was in his apartment, going over the final details with Theodore, when the phone rang. Not his regular phone, the emergency line, the one only 3 people had the number to. He answered. "Yes." A voice. Young. Female. Terrified. "Uncle Bumpy." His blood went cold. "Denise, they took me. They took me from school. They said—" Her voice cut off, replaced by another voice, male, smooth, confident, Vincent Gigante. "Hello, Ellsworth. It's been a long time." Bumpy's hand tightened on the phone. "If you heard her call." "Heard her? Why would I hurt her? She's such a sweet little black girl. So polite. So well-mannered. Her mother raised her right." Gigante's voice was mocking. Cruel. "But you know what they say. Children pay for the sins of their fathers. Or in this case, their uncles. What do you want?" "What do I want? That's a good question. Let me think." A pause. Then, "I want that black boy. The fighter. Cassius Clay. I want him to come to me. Alone. No guns. No backup. Just him. And I want him to do something for me." "What?" "I want him to get on his knees. I want him to apologize for hitting my associate, for disrespecting white men, for thinking he's something he's not. I want that black boy on his knees begging. And if he does that, if he's a good little black boy, then maybe, just maybe, I let your niece go home tonight." Bumpy closed his eyes, felt the rage building, the helplessness, the impossible choice crystallizing in front of him. "You there, Ellsworth? I'm here." "Good. You've got 24 hours. Send Clay to the address I'm texting you. Alone. On his knees. Or this sweet little black girl learns what happens to people who get between me and my business." Gigante hung up. Bumpy stood there, phone in his hand. Shaking. Not from fear. From fury. Theodore was already moving. "I'll get the crew. We'll find her. We'll know." Bumpy's voice was flat. Dead. "He's expecting that. He's got her somewhere we can't reach. Somewhere protected. With enough men that if we try, she dies." "So what do we do?" Bumpy looked at him. "I go instead." "What?" "Clay doesn't kneel. I do." He walked to his closet, started getting dressed. "Call the crew. Tell them the plan changes. I'm going to Gigante. While I'm there, they execute the operation. All 7 targets. Same time, but faster. We can't wait for the fight anymore." "Boss, this is suicide." "No, this is strategy." Bumpy pulled on his jacket, checked his gun, then reached for something else. Body armor, old, military surplus. He strapped it on under his shirt. Gigante wants someone on their knees. He wants to feel powerful. I'm going to give him that. I'm going to let him think he's won. And while he's celebrating, we're going to take everything he has. Theodore stared at him. "And if it goes wrong, then make sure you burn those tapes anyway. Make sure Clay gets to fight. Make sure that kid never has to bow to anyone." Bumpy walked to the door. Stopped. "And make sure Denise gets home safe. That's all that matters." He left before Theodore could argue. Clay was at the gym when Illinois found him. Training. Shadow boxing. Trying not to think about tomorrow night. Illinois pulled him aside. Told him what happened. Clay's face went pale. "He's going to die for me. He's going to save his niece, and you, and himself. All at once. That's who he is. That's what he does. I can't let him do this. I'll go. I'll kneel. Illinois grabbed his shoulders, hard. You don't get it. Do you, this isn't about you anymore. This is about every black boy who's ever been told to kneel. Every black man who's ever had to swallow his pride. Bumpy's not doing this for you. He's doing this for all of us. And if you try to stop him, you dishonor that. But no buts. You've got one job. Get in that ring tomorrow night. Win that fight. And when you do, you dedicate it to every man who made it possible, including Bumpy Johnson. Illinois let him go. Now get back to training, because tomorrow night, the whole world's going to be watching. Clay stood there for a long moment. Then he turned back to the heavy bag. Started hitting it, harder than before. Each punch carrying the weight of everything that was happening. Everything that was about to happen. 24 hours before the fight. An abandoned warehouse in the Bronx. Bumpy walked in alone. Hands up. No weapons. Or at least, no visible weapons. 20 men surrounded him. All Italian. All armed. All watching him like wolves watching wounded prey. Vincent Gigante stood in the center of the warehouse. Tall, broad, expensive suit, dead eyes. The kind of man who'd order someone killed and then go home and have dinner with his family without missing a beat. Next to him, tied to a chair, was Denise, 12 years old, scared but trying not to show it. Her uncle had taught her well. Gigante smiled. Ellsworth Johnson, the great Bumpy Johnson, king of Harlem, how the mighty have fallen. Bumpy said nothing, just walked forward until he was 10 feet away, then stopped. Where's the black boy? I asked for Clay. Not you. He's not coming. I am. Bumpy's voice was steady. Calm. Let her go. You want someone on their knees, I'll do it. But let her go first. Gigante laughed. So the great Bumpy Johnson finally bows down like a good black boy. I've been waiting 15 years for this. 15 years watching you walk around like you owned this city. Like you were something special. Like you were equal. He walked closer. Pulled out a leather strap. The kind overseers used to use. But you're not equal. You're not special. You're just another black boy who forgot his place. He cracked the strap against the ground. The sound echoed through the warehouse. Get on your knees. Bumpy looked at Denise, caught her eye, gave the smallest nod. Then he knelt. Slowly, deliberately, his face showing nothing. Gigante circled him, savoring it. Say it. Say I'm just a black boy who doesn't know his place. Bumpy's jaw tightened, but he spoke. I'm just a black boy who doesn't know his place. Louder. I'm just a black boy who doesn't know his place. Gigante laughed, triumphant. That's right. That's what you are. That's what you've always been. No matter how much money you made, no matter how many men followed you, you're still just... His phone rang. He answered it. His smile disappeared. What when? How many? His face went red. All of them at the same time. He looked at Bumpy, understanding dawning. You son of a Bumpy moved, not kneeling anymore, not submitting anymore. His hand went to his ankle, pulled a knife, threw it in one smooth motion. The blade caught Gigante's right hand. The phone fell. So did the gun he'd been reaching for. Chaos exploded. Bumpy rolled left, came up with his own gun, the one he'd hidden in his boot. Started shooting. The warehouse erupted into gunfire. Bumpy dove behind a crate. Bullets chewed through the wood. He returned fire. Took down 2 men. 3. But there were too many. He felt a bullet punch through his body armor. Cracked ribs, maybe worse. He kept shooting. Kept moving. Then suddenly, the back wall of the warehouse exploded inward. Illinois and Marcus came through like avenging angels. 6 more men behind them. The 7-team operation had become a rescue mission. The firefight intensified. Gigante was screaming, kill them all," in the chaos. Bumpy made it to Denise, cut her free. "Run. Don't look back. Run." She ran. Bumpy turned back, found Gigante trying to escape through a side door. Put 3 bullets in the wall next to his head. Gigante froze. "Careful with that word," Bumpy said, walking toward him. Each step hurt, blood seeping through his shirt. "The word black boy. Use it one more time, and I'll make sure it's the last word you ever say." Gigante's hand went to his backup gun. Bumpy was faster. Shot him in the shoulder. Gigante went down. Bumpy stood over him. Gun pointed at his head. "This is for Francine. This is for every person you ever called boy. This is for every chain you ever tried to put on us." He pulled the trigger. Click. Empty. Gigante laughed through the pain. Pulled his own gun. "My turn. Black boy." Bumpy closed his eyes. Waited for the shot that would end it. It didn't come. Illinois was there. His shotgun pressed against Gigante's head. "Drop it." Gigante dropped it. "We need to move," Marcus called out. "Police are coming." They left. Left Gigante bleeding but alive. Left the warehouse burning. Left 20 of Gigante's men dead or wounded. In the car, Bumpy coughed blood. His ribs were definitely broken. Maybe worse. The operation he managed. 6 out of 7 targets hit successfully. We got the safe from Pleasant Avenue. It's in the trunk. The tapes. We'll know soon. Bumpy nodded, then passed out. 8:30 that evening. Madison Square Garden. The arena was electric. 18,000 people. Sold out. The biggest crowd in years. Cassius Clay stood in his dressing room, hands wrapped, bouncing on his toes. Angelo Dundee was giving last-minute instructions, but Clay wasn't really listening. He was thinking about Bumpy, about Denise, about men kneeling, about the word black boy and everything it carried. "Clay, you with me?" Dundee snapped his fingers. "I'm here." "Good, because that's Doug Jones out there. He's tough. He's experienced. He's going to try to make you look bad. You can't let him." "I won't." The call came. Time to walk to the ring. Clay moved through the tunnel, heard the crowd, some cheering, some booing, heard someone yell, "Go back to Africa, boy." He smiled, not a friendly smile, something else. The ring, the lights, the moment. Across from him, Doug Jones, shorter, powerful, dangerous. The referee gave instructions. They touched gloves, returned to their corners. The bell rang. Clay came out fast, moving, dancing, jab, jab, circle left. Make Jones chase him. But Jones was patient, cutting off the ring, waiting for openings. Round 1 ended. Close. Round 2. Jones landed a big right hand. Clay's head snapped back. The crowd exploded. The loudmouth was getting hit. Finally, Clay tasted blood, shook it off, came back with a combination. Jab, right hand, left hook. All 3 landed. Round 3, round 4, back and forth. War. In round 5, Jones caught him with a body shot that felt like being hit with a hammer. Clay's ribs screamed. He thought about Bumpy, about broken ribs, about fighting through pain. He came back harder. Round 6, round 7. The crowd was losing its mind. This wasn't supposed to be competitive. Clay was supposed to dominate. Instead, he was in a war. In round 8, Clay heard it. Through the crowd noise, through the chaos. Someone yelling, "Stay down, boy, know your place." Something in him snapped. He thought about his father, about Louisville, about Tony Pictures, about Bumpy kneeling in that warehouse, about every black boy who'd ever been told to accept the chain. No more. Round 9. Clay came out like a demon, combination after combination. Jones tried to cover up, tried to survive. Clay wouldn't let him. Jab, right hand, left hook, right uppercut, 10-punch combination. Jones was against the ropes, legs gone, eyes glazed. The referee jumped in, stopped it. TKO. Round 9. Cassius Clay won. He jumped onto the ropes, screaming, "I'm the greatest. I told you, I'm the greatest." But in his head, he was thinking, "I'm not a black boy. I'm not anyone's boy. I'm Clay, and I don't kneel." Then the voice came through his earpiece, the tiny radio Bumpy had given him before the fight. "Illinois. The safe is open, but there's a problem. The tapes aren't here." Clay's celebration stopped. His blood went cold. "What? The tapes are gone. Someone moved them. 2 hours ago." Bumpy was in the back of a car, wrapped in bandages, coughing blood, when he got the same news. "Who?" He managed. "Who has them?" Marcus was on the radio, talking to their contacts, calling in favors, tracking movements. Then he got an answer. His face went pale. "Boss, it wasn't Gigante. It was Tony Pictures. He took them. He's planning to sell them to the FBI. He's got a meet set up in 1 hour. At the docks." "How much?" $500,000. Bumpy closed his eyes. Thought. Calculated. Then opened them again. "Get Clay. Get him now. We're going to the docks." "Boss, you can barely move." "I'll move when I need to. Get Clay." 20 minutes later, Clay arrived, still in his boxing trunks and robe, face swollen, hands taped, fresh from victory. He got in the car, looked at Bumpy, saw the blood, the bandages, the pain. "You should be in a hospital." "I'll go to a hospital when those tapes are ash. Not before." Bumpy coughed. "Tony Pictures has them. He's selling them to the FBI. If they get those tapes, it's over. They'll destroy you. They'll use them as evidence of connections to organized crime, to extremist organizations, to anything they want. You'll never fight for a title, never fight anywhere. You understand?" Clay nodded. "Then let's go get them." The car sped through Harlem, down to the docks. The city lights reflected off the black water, ships in the distance, warehouses and cranes creating shadows within shadows. They found Tony Pictures near Pier 47, standing under a streetlight, briefcase in hand, looking nervous, looking around, waiting for his FBI contact. Bumpy and Clay approached from different directions, slow, careful. Clay's footsteps were silent. Bumpy's were labored but determined. Tony Pictures saw Clay first. His eyes went wide. "Clay, what are you? You just fought. You should be at the hospital or celebrating or give me the tapes. I don't know what you're talking about." Clay moved faster than a man who'd just fought 9 rounds should be able to move. Grabbed Tony by the collar. Lifted him. "Don't lie to me." Tony Pictures struggled, then laughed. Bitter. Angry. "You want to know something funny? I'm just like you. Gigante doesn't respect me either. You know why. 'Cause I'm not real Italian. My family's from Sicily. Poor Sicily. Not Rome. Not Milan. To him, I'm just another boy. Italian boy. Poor boy. Boy who doesn't matter." He spat. "So I took his leverage. I'm selling it. And with that money, I'm going somewhere he can't find me. Somewhere I'm not just a boy." "Where are the tapes?" Tony gestured to the briefcase. "Right here. 3 copies. Enough to destroy your career 10 times over. The FBI's willing to pay $500,000 for them. Think what they'll do with them. Think how they'll use them against Malcolm X, against the Nation of Islam, against every black Muslim in America. He smiled. You're all the same. Black boys, Italian boys. We're all just boys to them. The only difference is how much we're willing to fight back. Then why are you selling us out? Because fighting back doesn't work. Trust me, I tried. Now I'm just trying to survive. Bumpy's voice came from behind him. Surviving isn't the same as living. Tony spun around, saw Bumpy, bloodied, bandaged, but standing. You should be dead. I get that a lot. Bumpy took a step forward. Give us the tapes. Walk away. Start over somewhere else. But don't do this. Don't be the reason. Another black boy gets his wings clipped. Tony Pictures looked between them. Two men who should be broken, who should be defeated, but who were still standing, still fighting. For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Regret, maybe, or recognition. Then headlights. A car pulled up. Black sedan. Government plates. FBI. Tony's expression changed. Back to cold. Back to calculating. Too late. The sale's happening. He started walking toward the sedan. Clay moved to stop him. Bumpy grabbed his arm. Let him go. We'll take them another way. How? Watch. Tony Pictures reached the sedan. The back window rolled down. A man in a suit, FBI badge visible. You have the merchandise. Tony held up the briefcase. 3 tapes, just like I promised. You have the money. The FBI agent held up a duffel bag. $500,000, just like we agreed. They made the exchange. Tony took the money. The FBI agent took the briefcase. The sedan started to drive away. Then it exploded. Not a huge explosion. Controlled. Precise. Just enough to destroy the vehicle and everything inside it. Tony Pictures stood there, briefcase of money in hand, watching the FBI agent burn. He turned slowly, looked at Bumpy. Bumpy smiled. I told you. Watch. Then more headlights, coming from all directions. Not FBI, not police. Vincent Gigante, the mob boss, stepped out of a car, arm in a sling, face twisted with rage. 20 men with him, all armed. He saw Tony, saw Bumpy, saw Clay. Well, all my problems in one place. How convenient. Tony, Pictures backed away. Boss, I can explain. Shut up. You stole from me. You tried to sell my leverage. You betrayed me. Gigante pulled out a gun with his good hand, shot Tony Pictures in the leg. Tony went down, screaming. Gigante walked over, picked up the briefcase of money, then looked at Bumpy and Clay. This is mine. The tapes were mine. The money is mine. And so are you. Black boy. He pointed the gun at Clay. You and your friend here, both of you. On your knees. Now. Prove you're still just black boys. Clay looked at Bumpy. Bumpy looked at Clay. Neither man knelt. Gigante's finger tightened on the trigger, and then a voice came from the shadows. Calm. Clear. Familiar. Careful where you point that gun. Vincent. Malcolm X stepped into the light. Not alone. Behind him. 50 men. 60. 100. From all over Harlem. People who'd been waiting. Watching. Ready. And in Malcolm's hand, a cassette tape. Looking for this. Malcolm held it up. The real tapes were never at Pleasant Avenue. Bumpy moved them days ago. What you've been chasing, decoys. What Tony Pictures tried to sell. More decoys, but this... He smiled. This is the original. And I think, Vincent, it's time we had a conversation about what happens when you call black men boys. Gigante's face went white, then red, then purple with rage. He raised his gun, pointed it at Malcolm, at Bumpy, at Clay, at everyone. And that's when the shot rang out. Not from Gigante, from behind him, where all of Harlem stood, united, ready, done with kneeling, done with being boys. The shot didn't kill Gigante. It shattered his gun hand, sent the weapon spinning into the dark water below the docks. Malcolm X stepped forward through the crowd, calm, deliberate, in his hand, a cassette tape that caught the streetlight. Looking for this, Vincent Gigante clutched his hand, blood seeping through his fingers, his face twisted with confusion. Rage. Fear. That's impossible. We had the tapes. Tony was selling exactly what Bumpy wanted him to sell. Malcolm held up the tape. Decoys. Good ones. Professional recordings. But not the originals. Bumpy switched them 2 days ago. What you've been chasing. What you thought you owned, a recipe for sweet potato pie. Very detailed. Bumpy's grandmother's recipe. Actually. Gigante's eyes went to Bumpy, understanding and hatred mixing in equal measure. You played me. From the beginning. Bumpy coughed blood, smiled through the pain. I learned from the best. You. Sirens in the distance, getting closer. Red and blue lights reflecting off the water. Gigante tried to move, tried to run, but Harlem had him surrounded. 100 people, 200, a wall of black faces, all of them done with running, done with hiding, done with being called boys. The police cars arrived, FBI behind them. Denise had called them from a payphone the moment Bumpy freed her, given them everything. The warehouse, the kidnapping, the evidence they needed. Federal agents swarmed Gigante, handcuffs, rights being read, his men dropping their weapons, surrendering, as they led him away. Gigante turned back, one last look at Bumpy and Clay, one last chance to cut them down with words since he couldn't do it with bullets. You'll always be black boys, all of you. You can fight all you want, but that's what you are. That's all you'll ever be. Bumpy stepped forward. Each step cost him, but he made it. Got close enough to whisper in Gigante's ear. No, Vincent, we're black kings, and you're just a prisoner now. Clay moved beside him, blood still on his face from the fight, hands still taped, but standing tall. And I'm the champion. The FBI led Gigante away. His screaming faded into the night. Then something happened that neither Bumpy nor Clay expected. The crowd started clapping, not cheering, not celebrating, just clapping. Slow, steady, respectful. Men, women, children. All of Harlem showing up to witness this moment, this declaration, this refusal to kneel anymore. No one was a boy anymore, not tonight. Tonight. They all stood tall. Later, in a quiet alley away from the crowds and police, Bumpy pulled out the reel tape, held it up, then pulled out a lighter. Clay grabbed his wrist. Wait, don't. We should keep it. Insurance. Protection. What if they come for you again? What if someone else tries to own you? Bumpy shook his head. No, you don't need this anymore. You're strong enough to protect yourself now. But your empire, your territory, Gigante might be gone, but I gave it away. 3 days ago, made deals with his rivals, traded everything I'd built for 30 years. Territory, operations, money, all of it. Bumpy lit the lighter, held the flame to the tape. I traded it for your future, and for Gigante's fall. Clay watched the tape burn. Why? Why would you? And because empires end, legacies don't. The tape melted, curled, became ash. In 5 years, no one will remember who controlled which corner in Harlem. But they'll remember that a young man refused to kneel. They'll remember that black boys became black kings. The last piece of tape dissolved into smoke. Bumpy collapsed. Clay caught him. "We need to get you to a hospital." "Yeah, we do." February 1964. 11 months later. Miami Beach. Muhammad Ali stood in his dressing room. No longer Cassius Clay. That name belonged to someone else. Someone who'd been called boy and had to swallow it. Muhammad Ali didn't swallow anything. A reporter pushed through. "Mr. Ali, why did you change your name? Why risk everything?" Ali looked at him, smiled. "Because someone taught me something important. He taught me I wasn't born to be anyone's boy. I was born to be a king." "Who taught you that? A man from Harlem, a king who gave up his crown so I could wear mine." The reporter didn't understand. Didn't matter. The people who needed to understand already did. July 1968. Harlem. A small restaurant. Bumpy Johnson died the way he lived. Surrounded by friends. A glass of cognac in front of him. Talking about the old days. He simply closed his eyes mid-sentence and didn't open them again. Heart attack. Quick. Clean. The way he would have wanted it. 2,000 people came to his funeral. Muhammad Ali wasn't there. He was fighting his own war against the government, against the draft, against a system that still wanted to call him boy. But 3 days later, a wreath arrived at Bumpy's grave. Large, expensive. White lilies. The card read, "To the king who taught me I was never a boy. Forever grateful. Muhammad Ali." Bumpy's voice, like he was still there. Still teaching. Still refusing to let anyone forget. People ask me why I sacrificed everything for one kid. Why I gave up 30 years of empire. Why I risked my life. Here's what I tell them. For 300 years. They called us boys. 300 years. They told us to know our place, to bow our heads, to accept the chains. But that night, one young man stood up. And when he stood, Harlem stood with him. We weren't boys anymore. We were kings. And kings don't kneel. Not to anyone. Not ever. From black boy to black king. Not just one man's journey. An entire generation's refusal to accept invisible chains. A moment when the word boy lost its power. When dignity became something that couldn't be taken. Only given away. And they stopped giving it away.